everyone, welcome in. So glad you could join us today. We're diving deep into some pretty cool concepts inspired by a post we found on mysticalabundance.blogspot.com.
They had this really fascinating piece about how cultivating what they call elevated emotions can actually play a major role in shaping your reality.
Right, and we were so intrigued we thought we'd break it all down for you, really explore the connection between your feelings and what you experience in life.
And give you hopefully some practical insights into how you can actually tap into that power. Use it to create the life you want.
Absolutely. And one thing that immediately caught our eye in the article was this idea that by really truly embodying the feeling of your desired outcome, almost as if it's already happened, you're sending this powerful signal to your subconscious mind.
Yeah, it's like you're telling it, hey, this is our new reality. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
Exactly. So we want to dig into that. But first, let's talk about these elevated emotions. The blog defines them as expansive, uplifting states that come about when your energy aligns with what they call higher frequencies.
Right. And I think it's important to clarify here that they're not talking about higher frequencies in a strictly scientific sense.
Yeah.
It's more about the energetic signature of positive emotional states.
Like a particular feeling.
Yeah, a pattern, a distinct pattern of feeling that contrasts with the lower, denser feeling of negative emotions.
Okay. So it's about connecting with that most authentic version of yourself, the one that's not weighed down by limitations. But, when we talk about feeling these elevated emotions, what's the real tangible impact? The article talks about raising our vibration, which, is a term we hear all the time.
Yeah, it's a metaphor, but it's a really powerful one. So think of it this way. Cultivating these elevated emotions is like a catalyst for transformation. For every negative thought pattern you break, you're freeing up mental bandwidth for a positive one, making manifestation potentially more receptive. So by raising this vibration, you're essentially shifting your internal state to one that's more aligned with possibility.
And with that natural sense of abundance.
Exactly. It helps you break free from those ingrained patterns of thinking and feeling that might be holding you back.
Now, the article draws a really clear distinction between these elevated feelings and what it calls limiting emotions. Things like ingratitude, indifference, even despair.
Yeah.
How do these negative states actually shape the reality we experience?
Well, the blog really emphasizes that when you consistently experience these limiting emotions, your focus tends to narrow.
You kind of get tunnel vision.
You do.
Yeah.
You become preoccupied with what you perceive as lacking. And this very preoccupation actually reinforces those feelings of lack.
Right. So it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
It's like when you're looking for a specific car and suddenly see it everywhere.
Right.
But in this case, you're focusing on what's absent, so you keep seeing more evidence of absence.
Exactly. Conversely, elevated emotions actually expand your awareness. They pull you out of that primal survival mode where your brain is primarily focused on safety and the familiar.
Even if what's familiar isn't really what you want.
Yeah, exactly. When you're in a state of joy or gratitude, your mind opens up to more creative, more expansive possibilities.
And this isn't just about a temporary mood boost, right? The article mentions that intentionally cultivating these elevated emotions can actually rewire the brain.
It can. It's a long-term effect. Imagine your brain as a network of pathways. The more frequently you travel down certain emotional pathways, the stronger those connections become.
Okay.
So by consistently choosing and dwelling in elevated emotional states, you're actively building new, more positive neural pathways. Pathways that begin to reflect and support the reality you want to experience.
So we have this whole spectrum of emotions. And this article touches on how stress can often be the trigger that kind of pushes us down the path towards those limiting emotions.
Yep.
How does that initial stress set off this negative chain reaction?
Stress often initiates a cascade of those limiting emotions. When you're under stress, your perception can become clouded. And you might start to interpret events through a lens of scarcity or negativity.
Right, you kind of put on those negativity glasses.
You do. And that, of course, reinforces those negative feelings. However, the blog also offers a really interesting perspective shift. Stress doesn't have to be a dead end.
Okay.
It can actually serve as a signal, an opportunity to consciously choose a different emotional response.
Yeah.
And redirect your path.
And then the article outlines this chain of limited emotions, almost like dominoes, one knocking over the next. And it starts with ingratitude. How does that initial feeling of not being thankful set this whole sequence in motion?
Well, the blog suggests that ingratitude immediately directs your attention to what you believe you're missing.
Okay.
This naturally fosters a sense of scarcity, the feeling that there will never be enough.
Right.
And from that underlying feeling of scarcity, it's a short slide into indifference, where you become disengaged, less invested in your passions and goals.
So you kind of check out of life a little bit.
You do. And ultimately, you become disconnected from your sense of purpose.
And from that disengagement, we then tend toward despair, right? That feeling of hopelessness, where it becomes hard to even envision positive change.
Exactly. Despair then often paves the way for apathy, that emotional numbness where you feel stuck and unable to initiate any action.
Like you're frozen.
Yeah, exactly. And as the article points out, this inaction and feeling of being trapped naturally leads to discouragement, that nagging self-doubt that whispers that success and fulfillment are simply unattainable for you.
Which then feeds directly back into that feeling of lack. Not enough resources, not enough time, not enough support. It's a pretty powerful and honestly kind of a scary chain to recognize.
It is. And a key point from the article is that this cycle also tends to keep the body's stress response activated, preventing it from returning to a state of calm and equilibrium. However, the empowering aspect is that simply becoming aware of this interconnected chain, recognizing these patterns in your own experience.
Yeah.
That's the crucial first step in choosing a different emotional direction.
So the solution, as the blog presents it, is to actively transmute these limited emotions, almost like turning lead into gold. That analogy of emotional alchemy is quite interesting.
It is. The blog presents elevated emotions, things like gratitude, love, joy, excitement, inspiration, and abundance itself as our fundamental natural state of being.
Okay.
The argument is that by consciously cultivating these feelings, you are essentially reconnecting with your truest self and beginning to rewire your brain and body to align with the life you genuinely desire.
So let's unpack these golden emotions individually. Gratitude's listed first. What specific power does gratitude unlock, according to the article?
Gratitude, the blog says, has this remarkable ability to open your heart and immediately redirect your focus to the abundance that's already present in your life.
Even if it's just in small ways.
And this seemingly simple shift can be profoundly impactful. It invites feelings of love and deepens your sense of appreciation, making you more receptive to opportunities you might have previously overlooked.
Okay, so gratitude acts as that foundation, opening us up.
Right.
And then there's love, which is a word with so many different meanings, but how does the blog frame its role in this process of manifestation?
Here, love is presented as the fundamental energy that nurtures your overall emotional well-being. It fosters a sense of inner harmony.
Okay.
It connects you with others on a deeper level. And this feeling of connection, this warmth and empathy, naturally invites joy into your experience.
Joy then becomes about being fully present in the moment, appreciating the journey itself.
Exactly.
Not just fixating on some far-off destination.
And from that grounded sense of joy, the blog suggests that excitement naturally arises, that enthusiastic energy, that sense of eager anticipation. It propels you forward. It fuels your drive to pursue your goals and dreams.
And excitement, that passion,
Yes.
becomes a magnet, aligning you with your goals and paving the way for inspiration. Where does inspiration fit into this?
Right. So inspiration is described as that spark, that intuitive nudge that ignites new ideas and possibilities. It opens you up to creative problem solving, reveals new pathways you might not have previously considered.
Like you're seeing with fresh eyes.
Exactly. And it's in this state of inspiration that you begin to truly believe in the realm of possibility and recognize that you are part of a constant flow of abundance.
Which brings us to abundance itself. It's not just about material wealth in this context, is it?
No, it's not. It's much broader than that. It's framed as the natural consequence of this internal alignment. When you consistently cultivate these elevated emotions, you begin to perceive possibilities everywhere. Your mindset shifts from a focus on limitation and scarcity to an underlying understanding of expansion and potential, allowing you to receive opportunities with openness and confidence.
Now, for some listening, this might feel a little abstract, but the article does touch on some of the science behind it. This idea of heart-centered emotions. Can you break that down? What does that actually mean?
So what's really fascinating here is this emerging understanding of the connection between your emotions and your physical body.
Okay.
Emotions like gratitude, love, and joy, they aren't just subjective feelings.
Right.
They create measurable shifts in your heart's electromagnetic field. When you consistently experience these elevated emotions, that field expands, sending a powerful energetic signal that some emerging theories suggest can interact with what's sometimes referred to as the quantum field, essentially the foundational fabric of reality.
So on a biological level, what kind of changes are happening within us?
Well, the blog mentions the release of key neurotransmitters like dopamine and oxytocin, which are associated with feelings of pleasure, connection, and well-being.